Medicine produces not more safety, but produces growing insecurity. It's really a production form of growing insecurity, fear, and a new dependence on professional counseling. So that would be the three theses. But also we could see how within medicine in the 1970s risk thinking came into currency, and that had to do with when medicine was transformed epistemologically in the way how they construct something in the 1970s, because statistics came in classical medicine, and in this sense dissolved classical medicine since the 1970s. Yeah, so that statistical thinking migrated into practical medicine. When I look in the dictionaries, yeah, I find in the 1950s only referring me to commerce or insurance. And when I look today, you find compositor, the coupling of the term to almost everything. So you find risk factor, risk form, risk birth, risk society, risk group, risk capital, risk child, risk management, risk patient, risk pregnancy, and so on. So as a compositum, it's very interesting because it's a term that obviously chemically can couple to almost anything, from banking to the most personal experience like being pregnant. Yeah. So yeah, that's very interesting to see. The dictionaries show the career of the term and how the term made its career in spheres of action and being, of reality that was not possible that one term would bridge over and then rephrase it in the same logic. Now, what is this migrant from mathematics? That's a new term within our colloquial speech that can couple with child, birth, with capital, and society as a whole. Yeah. And we have to start, in analyzing risk, we have to start with a fundamental difference between professional risk, the definition of professional risk, and risk in popular parlance, when we analyze the term in popular parlance. Because in popular parlance, the term means danger, has something of danger, there's some danger here, yeah. And to know something about danger, it seems to be rooted on experience, and it is concrete. So a girl, when I take the example of the mother, then she thinks immediately that she has an image how this is something concrete, that's dangerous. Yeah, that's frightening, yeah, concrete. So it's concrete and it can be named. That's the collision between danger and risk in popular talking. Yeah. On the one side, we lay people think, oh, this is danger, and we imagine it very concrete. So you think, my poor daughter, she's going to be beaten up with cancer. On the one side, they're very concrete, and you have an image, and on the other hand, it is a purely statistical construct. It's really a construct. Yeah, yeah. And this to separate the two dimensions of is extremely important. And it's one of the characteristics of our time that this heterogeneity between reference has been blurred, and we do not know about it anymore, and we do not immediately know about this fundamental difference between the statistical calculation, which is a certain bureaucratic reasoning or bureaucratic rationality, and the individual fear that has nothing to do with this. We have a term that comes from the insurance calculation, and in a very creepy way has, even in its definition, cannot say something about the individual person, and it came from calculations for huge numbers from the insurance system. Since the 70s, 80s, gets individualized, and then is being referred to the individual single person. Even so, it pertains only to populations, to statistically constructed and calculated numbers, which mustn't even be natural populations. Merkmalsklasse, it could be, you can make a statistical group by adding up different markers. Yeah. It's not even necessary that it must be a natural group in a sense. Yeah. And this means that risk is a term that disembeds from the concrete situation by being applied to the individual person. It's individualized, but then it disembeds this person from the surrounding and the concreteness in which you would otherwise think about it, and then gives reality to a probabilistic way of thinking that has, say, rationality only as it regards to bureaucratic perspectives of huge numbers. Yeah. So I think it is a term that's very important to transport the bureaucratic logic as an individual obligation into an individual obligation. Another point is important as regards medicine and risk is that the moment one believes in risk factors, then the health disappears. Just to be well, that's logically becomes an endangered situation, and so that normalcy, that's healthiness, normalcy, becomes a residual category. Normalcy shrinks to a residual category. Because, in some sense, it says that no one can be really well and healthy, because potentially something might be there already, even if you don't know it, because each person can be constructed in the interface of different calculations, of course. Say I'm 60 and whatever. You can construct any person into a person that incarnates with risks. So that the human being suddenly incorporates a potential for a sickness, and thus the normalcy, the being well, was endangered, and moving from just being well to already almost being sick is a continuum. Yeah. Just there might be risks you haven't really thought about. Yeah. And therefore we have a new, it's really a break in the history of classification of the human being, because now you have the risky self, or a risky subject. So risk talk, risk practice is part of the reconstruction or the mutation of the person. So the person